But yeah, let's talk about the big boy tournament, I guess.
The European final. Man,
Yeah, wow.
Big bank,
The thing
take
every
little
soccer
bank.
player dreams of.
Ooh, big bank, take little bank, man.
Russian versus Arab money.
Yo, man, big money teams. So, I mean, it's everything we predicted, right? We knew that the PAC season was going to lead to a lot of injuries this season. And we knew that the only teams that were probably going to be able to survive in this type of economy where nobody has any money and all the players are inflated are the big money teams.
Who are the two deepest teams in the Prem probably right now?
The big pocket, big money boys, niggas who ain't never turned down, you know what I'm saying? Chelsea and Manchester City, you know what I'm saying? Russia versus, who is it? The Emirates? The UAE? Who are those guys?
UAE.
The UAE, whatever the fuck. Anyways, all we know is that everything wrong with football just happened in this just happened in this Champions League campaign. The only team that was able to keep up with these guys was Real Madrid, which again, we've 100 years of institutional knowledge on just how to win, literally only how to win. And that was it. And I mean, holy crap, that, as much as I didn't want to be invested in this final, this was a pretty good final. At least the first half was. I was really...
the first half was definitely better, I would say.
I mean, I was really impressed with just how the game was just flowing back and forward. Actually, speaking of shit that I was impressed with, shout out to Chelsea. Their fans were like the only people that at that stadium. Their fans were super loud. I've never really known Chelsea to be like this huge traveling club, but I mean, I know they have worldwide fans, right? So they don't really need to travel. I mean, they don't need their fans to travel because they're everywhere. But they've always been quiet. They've always been a little, a little up there, not really celebrating too much, which is fine. Not really supporting their team too much. But this Champions League final, you would have thought you were at Stamford Bridge. Everything dark blue, all the fans dark blue. All you hear is Chelsea this, Chelsea that, John Terry this, Didier Drogba that. It was just a Chelsea home game, dude. And it's so weird to say that
too. I remember that feeling too when they won it, and I mean, that's a great moment no matter like who's winning it, just like the grandness of it. But I had like chills, and I'm an Arsenal fan. Like I hate Chelsea, but I had chills, and the crowd just erupted on that final whistle when the players are running on the field, everyone's embracing and celebrating. I was like, damn, like I could feel it. And I think it was like having fans back in the stadium in general, but again, it shows like they really showed out that game. And I was like, damn, like soccer missed this.
And we want to talk about that 12th man. We want to talk about Galatasaray and just being loud and the effect that a super loud stadium can have. I feel like there's a lot of factors that contributed, but I mean, first things first, dude, hats off to Chelsea. They did what they had to do. They all performed. All of their players performed. Like I don't think any of their players really had a bad
Werner
night.
missed a few really bad chances.
Timo Werner,
he was in the right places.
Doesn't know how to finish, but his movement, his link up ability, his pace in behind was incredible.
Especially with Havertz up top there. Like him and Havertz have such a good connection with their little 1-2s and playing each other into space, and it's great. It's fun to watch.
Because it's so weird because we said Chelsea's a defensive team. Tuchel turned them into a defensive team, 3-man back line. Their main thing is to counterattack. But since it's Chelsea, that's scary as fuck. All their players, like, I'm sorry, dude. Chelsea doesn't really suffer any foolishness when it comes to winning. If you're not good enough, you're probably not going to play. If you're not good enough, they're getting you out as a manager. They're kicking you out halfway through the season. Fuck if you donated 15 years of your life or your career to the club, bro. You're out of here. Like, get the fuck out. Boom. Just won a Champions League. Chelsea are. It's so weird, man. Chelsea have like this weird dichotomy in that they are a big club and they are a huge money club, but because of their history and because of who they are and what they've had to do to get to where they are, they're at their best when they're the underdogs. Chelsea always get it done, right? Chelsea always do what you least expect them to do, and they always find a way. Whether they grit their teeth and do it, whether they show out and flash out, whether they just start turn into some thugs and start roughing people up, Chelsea always find a way. And
you know what's really interesting too is like, it's a great point about Chelsea thriving when they're underdogs. Historically, it's always shown to be the case. What's super interesting is this season, when Chelsea spent their like 200 mil or whatever, they were like painted out to be like the champions. Like they were going to win the league.
Everyone
this year.
knew they had a squad.
So many people picked them and they struggled. It's like they were the favorites and they struggled. Yeah, it's probably because of Lampard, but it's just funny to think about how when they are the favorites, they weren't getting it done. And then as soon as the narrative switched and it was like, let's just get top 4.
Chelsea's on it now.
Like, it's like, and that'll be cool next season to see too, because now they're the champions of Europe. Like you have to have expectations to win the league next year. So how will they respond?
Put a tab in that Champions of Europe thing in terms of next season, because when we get to the transfers, I just want to say something about Chelsea real quick. But going back to it, dude. Yeah, dude. Like as soon as everyone started doubting them, they started having faulty form in the league. They lost the FA Cup. As soon as they look like, you know what I'm saying? As soon as their backs are against the wall, that is kind of the draw of Chelsea, right?
Even with like recent history, because we were talking about how Chelsea looks unstoppable. And then like the last like 2-3 weeks before the final, they start looking shaky. We're like,
and it's exactly what they needed.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, bro.
I didn't even think about that. Wow.
And because when did Roman Abramovich buy them? 2004, 2005? Because that's such recent history in terms of the length, in terms of the history of these clubs.
Club began.
So these right. So these motherfuckers have been fighting against the status quo just yesterday. Like, so these guys still remember having to fight just to win the league and win it a bunch of times and get that respect, and then go win a Europe and then go lose a European Cup and then go win it and get that respect. You know what I'm saying? They've had to do it a bunch of times. Remember Chelsea, Bayern Munich were all over them. Chelsea didn't look like they stood a chance, and yet they ground out a win to penalties. Like they always do the thing you least expect. Like when it looks like they're not going to do it. You know?
Yeah.
And what's funny is that like even you could call Manchester City Chelsea 2.0, right? Big money infusion, winning a whole bunch of trophies now, but it's kind of crazy to show even what the difference of a few years can make. Or maybe it's just the fan bases in general, because like, how do I say this? The powers that be right now, right, have been fighting tooth and nail against Manchester City for however long, and against PSG, right? Like both of those clubs have been getting disrespected for a few years now because the powers that be don't really want them there, right, in that position of power. Well, Chelsea was the first one to have to do all of that fighting and pushing and rebounding against the forces that be.
Everything, yeah.
So if their
financial fair play, was that because of Chelsea or City?
That was because of City, but financial fair play is a whole different thing, brother. That was basically a lie just to keep things in the way that they were. Like, it's so funny how a lot of these guys from the European Super League have just been telegraphing their intentions for at least decades at this point. But going back to it, I feel like Chelsea thrive in that adversity, and Manchester City, like, they're an efficient machine, but that's all they are, is a machine. You know how you just said Chelsea gave you chills, like the Chelsea fans gave you chills when they won, right?
Right.
When is the last time you felt or heard that type of emotion from anything involving Manchester City? I can tell you when. 2011. When they won the league for the first time. right? When that
Aguero.
Aguero and the whole stadium explodes. I
Yeah,
haven't
one of
really
my favorite
heard
goals
that
ever.
level of I don't even passion, right?
Hmm.
I haven't heard that level of passion at all. Barely any of their fans traveled. You even if their fans did travel, you couldn't hear them. You know what I'm saying? There was no every time they scanned to the fans in the stadium, they looked like the team on the field. It looked like the team on the field, just kind of nervous, a bit confused with why things weren't going their way, and then they started
Right,
whining. Same shit like Manchester City, damn near.
right. Let's look at the game a little bit. So I liked your analogy of a seesaw. I thought that was like a
Yeah,
really good way of describing it. It did feel very like back and forth at times. A lot of just like transition through Conte, then transition through like
De Bruyne.
Foden or whoever, and then
Mhm.
transition, like it's just back and forth, relentlessness. But at the same time, we came out and said that this would be like a super defensive game, and it kind of was, even with all the constant counter attacking back
Yeah.
and forth. Because we have some stats here, but we
Hey,
got, so there were 8 shots for City, and they only had 1 on target, and then Chelsea
yikes.
had 7 shots and only 2 on target.
Fucking
So
yikes.
yeah, it seemed wide open, but at the same time, like two very strong defensive teams. And then even what's even more impressive too is Chelsea losing Thiago Silva hella early
Yes.
and still being able to
Oh
hold down the
man.
fort.
Man. Low key, this episode might just be a Chelsea spotlight, man, because I told you, Chelsea are when they're a banter club, it's all fun and games, but when they get back serious, it's real dangerous, bro. I told you they built the
Mhm.
Death Star. That front office doesn't fucking play, bro. They went and got Tuchel. They went and got Thiago Silva, the one defender who was available, who could have gone to that back line and not only solidified it, but also give the young center backs in the back line leadership,
Elevated.
elevate their play, basically help out in the midfield, help sweep up in the midfield, sweep up in the like behind niggas, like clear. I don't know. I love Thiago Silva. I love Thiago Silva. He went down like he. It's like he's cursed or something. Whenever it comes to a big
Mhm.
game, Thiago Silva. I
Yeah,
think.
CP3 syndrome.
Oh, bro, you said dog. When you texted me that shit, it was the perfect analogy. He has Chris Paul syndrome. The minute the games start becoming worth a lot more, boom, he's injured. Somehow, someway. Shout out to Chelsea for being able to get past that adversity and keep grinding. You saw the complete opposite in Manchester City.
Yeah, unfortunately, Kevin De Bruyne goes down.
Clobbered by Rudiger.
I didn't notice it at first. I think you're right. I think his eye
Got
was like shut.
destroyed.
Like
Bro, his eye was
he was
swollen.
hurting.
Bro, he got destroyed by Rudiger.